I'm Ellis Martin. Join me for a conversation with Dr. Andrew Ramcharan, Senior Vice President of Corporate Development for Rockridge Resources, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange as ROCK and in the U.S. on the OTC as RRRLF. Rockridge Resources is a publicly traded mineral exploration company focused on the acquisition, exploration, and development of mineral resource properties in Canada, specifically copper and gold. The company's core project is the Knife Lake project located in Saskatchewan, which is ranked as a top mining jurisdiction in the world by the Fraser Institute. Dr. Ramcharan has an extensive background in corporate development, mining and exploration, project evaluation, and investment banking spanning over 20 years. Previously, as manager of corporate development for IM Gold, Dr. Ramcharan was involved in raising over $600 million in equity financings and worked on project acquisitions totaling over $800 million. Prior to that, he was at SRK Consulting for several years and worked with uranium companies including SXR Uranium One, UR Energy, and Uramine, which eventually sold for $2.5 billion in 2007 to Areva. Andrew, welcome to the program. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you, Alice. Thanks for having me.
If you don't mind, give us a background on Rockridge Resources for those in our audience who are listening to your story for the very first time. Tell us all about copper and gold if you want.
So Rockridge Resources has two projects. One, the key flagship project is copper project in Saskatchewan, and we currently have an NI 4311 compliant resource of over 200 million pounds of copper, and we have a high-grade gold project in Ontario, just close to IM Cote and Borden project. Our flagship project, which I'll stress on, is the copper project in Saskatchewan. We've been working on the project for a number of years, and previously there was work done from the 60s until the 90s. And there was an established resource solid base here, which basically lays the foundation for any other projects and resources addition to the current foundation we have. We are now advancing the drill program, and we plan to commence in mid-July to take the current resource base and grow it. The key thing to note here, Alice, is that as electric vehicles are increasing in demand, the supply of copper is decreasing, and they say in the next 2 decades, a few copper mines are going to be running out of reserves. And what's happening around the world where we have to consider geopolitical situations, country risk, we see Canada as a safe jurisdiction for copper and copper production. So in summary, Rockridge has these two projects, and our flagship project is the Knife Lake Copper Project in Saskatchewan.
Thank you very much for that overview. Now let's move along to you. You joined this company this year. As far as I know, you have a PhD in mining engineering and also mineral economics, which is fantastic. And it's rare that I speak with somebody of your particular background with regard to mining engineering and mineral economics. And I have to ask you, why did you select this particular company to work with? I'm not saying work for, I'm saying work with, because from what I understand of your background, you don't need to do this for the paycheck. Why are you involved with Rockridge Resources, sir?
Thank you, Ellis, for that question. So it's my view that copper is going to be on a run, and very, very shortly, the run will commence because of the global demand supply curve for copper. But in terms of answering the question specifically, I saw the potential in this project. This is a VMS project. It's in Canada. It has a very strong team of young, dynamic, energetic guys backed by strong investor base. And I don't see that this is going to be around for a very long time. What I envisage here reminds me of Foran Mining. Foran Mining was basically in the same position a number of years ago. They made some changes. They've advanced a certain aspect of their business, and today they're over $500 million market cap. So when you look at Knife Lake project, this project occurs with multiple pods. That being said, what it implies is the probability of getting more of these resource bit is very, very high. So the resources occurs in pods. And to date, we haven't touched the source. If we get to the source of this VMS system, this can be very, very significant to Rockridge and its shareholders. So we believe with this drill program and additional drill program, we could be targeting billions of pounds in a very short time. That being said, with what's going on in the world with the geopolitical environment, we see this as a high target for someone who operating in unsafe jurisdiction, unsafe geopolitical countries. And ultimately, there should be some consolidation, because when you look at copper project, and as you mentioned, I come with a strong engineering and financial background, the capex to build these projects and put them into production is very significant. And with a few mines going out to production running low on reserves, it's ultimately going to be some consolidation. We see the M&A activities are increasing. We envisage, once we comprehend fully the inflation numbers, the demand for copper on electric vehicle, that copper price is going to run. So the key reason why I'm part of the team is the long-term strategy is to create value for shareholders and add value to all shareholders here. And I see this has all the right ingredient to make a positive impact on the market creation.
Those are all very, very good reasons. And I've been looking at this particular stock for a long time. You've been a sponsor of our program for about 3 years or so. I've been an investor. And with a share price of 7 cents Canadian, 4 to 5 cents US currently right now, it's either an opportunity for some investor or it's maybe too risky considering the volatility of this particular market. And by that, I mean your market. I'm not talking about copper necessarily, although copper has been all over the place lately. I can either look at this as an amazing opportunity with everything you've described, considering that some of your peers are trading at $1 or $1.50 or $3 in that nature, and you're at 5 cents. So if you position yourself hypothetically in your company as a shareholder and look away for a while, when either a transaction happens down the road or the market, really picks up again because everybody gets the message. I think a stock at 5 cents, which is appealing to some people and then not appealing to others, might be a real opportunity potentially for investment. So that's how I would look at your company right now, from either a generalist standpoint of view, a long-term investor, or somebody that just figured out during the last few weeks or so that maybe they should get involved in copper when there's other choices out there to invest in.
Yes, I think this reminds me of the story with Foran again. I keep mentioning it because they were in the same position, just like us, and they made some fundamental changes and they advanced certain aspects of their business. And I see this could be a turning point. We were working in the background on multiple aspects of the business. And this year could be transformational for the company. We are in the process of multiple elements that could add value to our shareholders that I cannot discuss publicly. But there's always this little dip. But the long term, we do see the value creation here. One of the key things that I can talk about with you is our upcoming drill program, which is in mid-July. We have completed some VTEM geophysical survey. We've in the final process of the 3D modeling and modeling of some of the plates. And these plates are showing us some high priority targets that were never drilled before. There's some that are confirming, refining our current drill program. So when you look at these things here, these are certain ingredients and elements that help us to get the word out. And under my leadership, it's crucial for us to under-promise and over-deliver, because I always believe the results could speak for itself. And we have to ensure that we're getting the word out in the right time. So I think this is a pivotal time for the company. And like you mentioned, I think this might be the right time for investors and everyone to start jumping in. Because that being said, I also believe, like I mentioned earlier, that copper price is on an uprise.
Well, I can't argue with that. The fundamentals have been pointing in that direction for quite some time. I mean, what is the world going to do when ultimately copper hits $6 a pound? I mean, it's coming. We don't know when. We have no idea when. But when that happens, wow, look out.
No, I agree totally. And that's where we're going to be. We're going to be in a position where we're going to get a supply from. It's going to come hitting on our doors in no time. And we're not going to be prepared for this because what's happening in Chile, what's happening in Congo, what's happening in Arizona. I was reading an article and it said it requires about a couple hundred tons of copper per vehicle. And they have to make millions of vehicles. So there's going to be a shortfall of billions of pounds of copper in the very, very short term. And key thing, companies that has copper reserves are diminishing and they're not finding massive copper plays in safe jurisdictions anymore. And what, this leads to with inflation. We have to come out of the pandemic. We have to go back to a normal way of living, but we have to eventually be able to fulfill that demand for copper. And I see it being in Canada, being a safe jurisdiction. These are the key factors that ultimately it's just a matter when these things can all run. It's not if, it's just a matter of time when.
Well, Andrew, it's been a real pleasure to get to know you today, and I'm excited by what I just heard, and I'm glad that this company brought you on just a few months ago because it clearly speaks to a very positive direction for the company, positioning yourself for the inevitable. Thank you so much for joining us today on the program.
Thank you, Ellis, and thank you for having me.
I've been speaking with Dr. Andrew Ramcharan, Senior Vice President of Corporate Development for Rockridge Resources, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange as ROCK, and in the U.S. on the OTC as RRRLF. Find the company online at rockridgeresourcesltd.com. I'm Ellis Martin.